and we have a fake stock market, we have a fake housing market, we have a fake bond market, we have a fake economy. It's all built on a house of cards, and it's all about to fall. No matter what happens in Eastern Europe or what happens in Asia, what's going to happen right here is what we really need to be concerned about, because all hell is about to break loose right here in the US. It's Monday, March 21st, 2022. A lot to talk about today. I want to get right into it. Markets across the board closed down today. Not too bad. Dow Jones was down around 201 points, but markets across the board down, but not too bad. But what I find interesting is that we're hearing talk that if negotiations in Eastern Europe don't result in some type of peace, that World War III is next. We had Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, come out today and talk about more aggressive rate hikes. It is nothing but more and more bad news. So in all reality, the markets should have really got crushed today and didn't. Dow Jones down 201, that's nothing. On top of the news that we've been getting over the last day or two, these markets should have been absolutely crippled today. And last night, I was looking at CNBC. Gold slips on stronger dollar, set for biggest weekly fall since November. But this morning, gold back up, silver back up. And they just love to downgrade gold as this barbarous relic that nobody needs. You don't want it. You need to continue to run up your credit cards. You need to be buying into the stock market. You need to be buying a new house. That's what they want you to do. But again, inflation, World War III, food shortages, the talk of cyber attacks, more uncertainty, and markets barely flinch today. Another article on CNBC. Powell says inflation is much too high and the Fed will take necessary steps. Let me emphasize these words, necessary steps to address. So many people out there said that they weren't going to raise interest rates. Well, they just did. And guess what? They're going to do it again. Now, there's talk that it may be a 50 basis point rate hike. But what happened to those people who said that the Fed would never raise rates? Well, they did it and they're going to do it again. We are looking at 6 more rate hikes, and I don't know how the Fed is going to be able to backtrack and ease off the pedal now that they continue to reinforce with all of us that they're going to get more aggressive, that we're going to see an additional 6 hikes with a 50% chance now of a 50 basis point rate hike. So comment down below. Next meeting is May. Is it going to be 25 basis points? Will it be 50 basis points? And whether it's 25 or 50 basis points, what does this mean for the economy? Will we see any effect with inflation? Will it do anything for inflation? I believe it won't. But what kind of effect will it have on the market and the U.S. economy? I believe it's going to have I think it's going to have a real effect. Wolfstreet.com, mayhem in the Treasury market as Powell adds 50 basis point rate hikes, plural, to the menu, and quantitative tightening as soon as May. Today, 10-year yield hit 2.31, 30-year fixed mortgage rate, get this, 4.66%. Do you think that this is going to begin to have a problem, an effect for the housing market? No doubt. We are month after month seeing home sales slowing down. And as we continue to see mortgage rates go up, we're going to see more problems in the housing market. We are going to see a housing crash at some point, ladies and gentlemen. The average American is so far in over their heads. This is going to be disastrous. The hedge today, how much waste is in the $1.5 trillion spending bill? The bill, get this, I was reading this in this article. The bill is 2,700 pages long. That is the equivalent of 10 books. The president has signed this off, and the magic bill is going into effect, ladies and gentlemen. And just a couple things that they pointed out. $1 million will go to farm to refrigerator training facility in Pennsylvania, $2.5 million for a museum in Vermont, and $3 million for a fisherman's COOP facility in Guam. How much does this bill really cost? We're being told it's $1.5 trillion, but when you take into account interest on this bill, what is it going to cost? Is it going to be $2.5, $3 trillion at the end of the day? This thing is going to cost much more than $1.5 trillion. And the money that is being printed and borrowed is guaranteeing that we're going to see more inflation, and it won't be instant. This is inflation that we're going to begin to see in 2023, 2024. Remember, this is just going to be a delayed process. Once this money gets into the system, into the economy, takes a while, and then we're going to see a result of more inflation. So, you know, as I go through the data, as I share these articles with you, and we see another $1.5 trillion plus interest, we're going to be sending money over to Eastern Europe. We're sending, you know, more military gear, supply, things like that. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, billion-dollar packages, more money printing, more inflation, ladies and gentlemen. And this is why I'm going to continue to buy stuff like this. There is no doubt with the inflation, the uncertainty, the money printing, the food shortages, the threat now that the US dollar is on borrowed time, no doubt, you got to own some of this stuff. The yellow stuff, the silver stuff. This is so important. People continue to ask me where I get my gold, my silver from. I have a link down below, SD Bullion. And let me emphasize, I don't care if you buy it, you don't buy it. I don't care where you buy it from somebody reputable. People get so triggered that, you know, I have a link down below, and I've been dealing with SD Bullion because of all of you who recommended and referred them to me 3 years ago. And I've been a loyal customer of SD Bullion. They've always been competitive with price. They've gotten my metals to me quickly. So I have nothing but great things to say about SD Bullion. Now, you may deal with somebody that you love, somebody that you've been dealing with for years. Well, great. But again, I don't care if you buy it, you don't buy it. I'm buying it. My friends are buying it. I talked to my attorney today, and you know, we just had a discussion. Where in the world do you put your money right now? If it's just sitting in a bank account or sitting in a safe, you're losing money every day. Do you have to have cash? Yes, of course. You're going to need it to take advantage of the sales. When this market breaks loose, you're going to need it to buy this discounted market. If you're buying a house tomorrow, you're going to need some cash, right? So you got to have cash. Cash is still valuable and important until it's not. But the most important asset you can have right now as far as a financial asset, there is no doubt it is gold, and silver is no doubt going to come along for the ride. So go to your coin shop, go to whoever you deal with, go to SD Bullion, go wherever, or don't go at all. Keep buying paper. You can buy whatever your heart desires. You can continue to buy into cryptos, you can buy stocks, you can buy the dip. Do whatever you feel is right for you. For me, for my family members, for my friends and people that I know, they're buying gold and they're buying silver. So again, when we see the data that I'm sharing with all of you right now, where do you really put money right now? I think real estate is overvalued. I think the stock market's overvalued. The bond market's overvalued, and cash is depreciating. Although I have cash, but I'm not one-dimensional. I'm not going to put everything I have into cash. I'm certainly not going to gamble in the stock market. I'm certainly not going to buy on top of this housing bubble. So to me right now, the safe haven asset is gold. The hedge today, Manhattan's third largest hotel to sell at staggering loss. This was really interesting. Host Hotels and Resorts has agreed to sell its Sheraton New York Times Square Hotel for $365 million. That's a lot of money. But that's less than half the $738 million that was paid for the 1,700 room property back in 2006. Think about that, less than half. We're going to continue to see a reckoning in commercial real estate, which we have not even seen yet. But we have seen the death of commercial real estate, but we have not felt the ramifications, the reckoning, the fallout from commercial real estate yet. It's coming, and it is going to transition right over into the housing market, as I truly do believe we're going to see the housing market wrecked. So many people have their wealth and believe that they're wealthy because the price of their home went up. And as fast as your wealth grew, that you think it grew because the price of your house went up, you have no idea how fast your wealth is going to be wiped out. If you're putting your wealth and basing your wealth on how much your house is worth, you're sadly mistaken. Wealth is not an asset that you're paying every month on. Wealth is an asset that doesn't have counterparty risk, is always going to be worth something. It's something that you're not paying into every month. So many people believe they're wealthy because they drive a nice car, but they have 7 years of car payments. Yes, you have a beautiful Mercedes, but you're going to be paying on it for the next 7 years. You have a beautiful home, but you owe $600,000 on it and a 30-year mortgage. We're really, I'll say this. Wealth is waking up today to having 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, breathing, walking, and thanking God for everything I have. That's wealth. If you're walking, talking, breathing today, you maybe you only have 1 arm, 1 leg, but you're alive today. You're watching this video. You are a wealthy human being. You're paying your debts down. You're getting financially more responsible and more secure. You continue to grow spiritually. You grow mentally, and you're getting in better physical shape. You're a wealthy person. It doesn't matter if you're sleeping in your parents' garage, you're sleeping in the basement today. If you're paying down the debts, you're out there working hard, you're breathing, and you're walking close to God, you are a wealthy person, and make sure you give all thanks to God for that. And thank God that He's waking you up and preparing you for the worst economic collapse that is knocking at the door. Yet millions of people are ignoring the warning signs. They're hoping it goes away. They are denying that there are problems. They're ignoring the warnings. And ignorance is really going to get these people hurt. Another article today coming from The Hedge. A professor says that we should eat lentils and let our pets die to cope with inflation. The audacity of this individual, Professor Teresa Gilladucci, of the New School, gives some tips to all of us if you make under $280,000 a year. So if you, this really goes out to people who make under $50,000 a year. She says to deal with gas, take public transportation. When it comes to food, don't be afraid to explore. Try lentils instead of meat. If you acquired a new pet over the last couple years and you're a new pet owner, you might want to rethink those costly pet medical bills. I mean, what a real sick individual. And one of these pompous people who probably lives in their little ivory tower making a couple $100,000 a year as a professor, telling us, because they have a degree sitting on their wall, telling us how we should live, telling somebody who makes $28,000 a year that, your pet isn't that important. That family member, that pet, which I consider that pet of yours a family member. And by the way, make sure you're preparing and putting food away for your pets, your dogs, your cats, etc. Make sure. Look, we know they're all family members. So many people I see from time to time on social media who've lost a pet, and it really takes a toll on them, because to so many people, these pets, dogs, cats, they're even more important than some family members. I hate to break the news, but you know what I mean. And for somebody in their ivory tower to tell people to cut the strings on your pet, don't worry about their medical condition, let them go. You can eat beans, cut out the meat. Basically, just give up your life. Just really disgusting, isn't it? Just, these are repulsive individuals to talk down to people like this, people who are struggling. It's just disgusting. Another article today, what can the Fed do about the price of food, medicine, gasoline, or rent? The answer is absolutely nothing. They're in big trouble. Hikes will not impact inelastic items. It's not going to matter. So get ready. The price of literally everything is going up. Another article today coming from The Hedge. India ignores Western pressure, buys cheap Russian crude. A government official in India said this: we will be happy to take it. India is considering workarounds, including rupee payments benchmarked to the US dollar for buying the crude oil, government officials said yesterday. We're going to continue to see more of this we're going to continue to see more of this take place. And this is, again, why I emphasize why we got to be paying off our debts, and we got to be holding real assets, whether that's acreage and cattle and chickens or gold and silver, having some cash put away. But this is really dangerous for the US dollar. India is the biggest customer to the Russian defense industry, and India has almost 1.5 billion people living in its country. This is a huge, huge market, and they're going to import. If they start doing this, they're going to begin to import a lot of oil, India that is, and they're going to be huge users, just like Asia. Imagine the amount of oil that the deals that they're going to be doing in different currencies, possibly in gold. It's going to be, it could be quite catastrophic for the US dollar, and it's very, very concerning because once the dollar begins to see real competition, not that tomorrow it's not going to be the reserve currency, but they are setting up the framework, and this is probably a few years down the road, but just think if the dollar lost 20% of its world reserve status, 20%, that would change things overnight. But at some point, somebody's going to get a foothold, like China, into the world reserve status, going to be a contender, going to be a competitor, and it's going to take over. No, there's no doubt about it. Goldman Sachs admits Saudi-China oil trade signals erosion of dollar reserve status. China's economy is growing and is becoming more important, ladies and gentlemen. And the more important it becomes, the more the world is going to want to deal with them and their currency. New alliances are being made right now behind the scenes. The use of financial sanctions by the US is creating an incentive for third world countries to diversify away from over-reliance on dollar-denominated trade. Other countries do not want to have their financial system shut down. They don't want to have their assets seized. They don't want to have their economies frozen. They don't want to be controlled. And what we're seeing right now is a formation where the world is going to take the US off the dollar standard. China's yuan is going to become a much bigger player with oil experts, which should cause concern to the future of the US dollar. An article today coming from the Economic Collapse website: severe drought and dust bowl conditions threatens to create a disastrous winter wheat harvest in the US. And I bring this up because I think it's so important that all of us continue to put food away. What's the worst that could happen? You have extra food that you can use a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now. What's the worst that could happen? You know, there are things such as natural disasters, and we're seeing one right now with these severe droughts that are taking place in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And it's going to have an impact on wheat. And of course, the weather conditions that plagued Eastern Europe also. Countries now in Eastern Europe not going to ship their wheat because they don't have enough to ship because of the weather conditions they've had over the last couple years. And we talk about wheat and grains and corn. How about the fertilizer problem now, the price of fertilizer, the shortage of fertilizer? This is all going to play out down the road here. So why not go out and buy a little extra food? Buy some emergency food, buy some canned food, buy what you can afford. Just get something. Article today: 85,000 birds euthanized in South Dakota because of this outbreak. That's a problem. And how about this one? Death toll rises to over 12 million chickens and turkeys in second month of America's horrific bird flu crisis. The first month, we lost 2.8 million birds. The second month, we lost over 12 million. We need to pay attention. This is going to deeply affect all of us at the grocery store, ladies and gentlemen. And this crisis with birds and this health crisis that we're seeing with these birds, chickens, and turkey, it has escalated. I mean, look, 2.8 million to over 12 million in the second month. What does this do for the price of turkey, the price of chicken? What's it going to do to the price of eggs? Think about this. Everything, I mean, we talk about shortages, the shipping crisis, the inflation. Now we've got droughts. Now we've got a bird health crisis taking place. Not good at all. And I want to close with this last article from CNBC. Nike shares rise as earnings top estimates on strong North American demand. Sales rose 5% to $10.87 billion from a year earlier. And yet people say, I can't afford any gold, JB. I can't afford any silver. It's too expensive. But people are out there paying $200, $300, $400, $500 for a pair of Nikes. See, this is how the average American is preparing for what's coming. They're ignoring the science. They're ignoring reality. And they're going out and buying themselves a $200, $300, $400 pair of Nikes. The average American has no idea what is about to happen. And we must all realize, and 99% of you watching this video realize that a pair of Nikes is going to serve you no purpose as this economy sinks into an economic abyss. First off, nobody's going to care what kind of shoes you're wearing, but I do recommend that you have yourself some good shoes. You're going to need some good shoes, especially as conditions fall apart. You want some good shoes. You don't want a pair of gym shoes. Get yourself some real good performance shoes that if you need to hike a couple miles, if you need to go through some rough terrain, wet terrain, that you have the proper type of shoes. But I digress. Let's get back to what we're talking about here. The average American is still buying $300 and $400 gym shoes and still making the excuse that they can't afford to buy any gold or silver while they're sipping on a $9 latte at Starbucks in the $300 Nikes. Now look, if you can afford this stuff and you have your preparations in order, God bless you. I have nothing against owning nice things. I like nice things myself, okay? I like nice things. But I don't make excuses and say I can't afford something, yet I go out and buy a nice suit or a nice tie or a nice pair of shoes. Get your priorities straight. Make sure you have the necessities. And a pair of Nikes is not a necessity. An ounce of gold, an ounce of silver, a good pair of performance shoes is a necessity. Food, water is a necessity. And real security is a necessity. In fact, next to God, security is your number one preparation, your number one necessity, not a pair of gym shoes. Get your house in order, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is beginning to accelerate. It's beginning to expedite. And we've watched this slow kill of this economy over the last few years. It's beginning to accelerate. Once this housing market begins to fall apart, we're going to watch the stock market implode. And it is going to impact tens, if not hundreds of millions of people right here in America. And don't forget, your money markets, your 401ks, your pensions are all tied into this. But hey, you got a $400 pair of Nikes. God bless everybody. Make sure that you stay on path. Don't get complacent. Market could be up 500 tomorrow and everybody thinks everything's going to be okay. There's a lot happening in the world. And no matter what happens in Eastern Europe, we got debts, we got deficits, we've had massive money printing. We have businesses that have absolutely been destroyed right here in America. Small mom and poppers. So, you know, again, whatever happens in Eastern Europe, they could patch it all up next week and everything will be fine. But it really won't, because we're past the point of no return right here as far as debts and deficits go. This place right here is broken. We have so many problems right here. And we have a fake stock market. We have a fake housing market. We have a fake bond market. We have a fake economy. It's all built on a house of cards and it's all about to fall. No matter what happens in Eastern Europe or what happens in Asia, What's going to happen right here is what we really need to be concerned about, because all hell is about to break loose right here in the US.